Good morning, children. I'm very happy to see that you all are watching the PPT and also submitting your classwork and homework via the WhatsApp. But there are few students who haven't submitted your homework yet. I would request all of you to take time and see that you all do the given classwork and homework and send it to me via the WhatsApp. My sincere thanks to the management for this recorded classes so that the students are engaged and are also learning and writing their classwork and homework. In the same way, I also should appreciate and thank each of your parents for their kind cooperation. So, can we get started for today's session then? Let me tell you what will be covered in today's session. We will continue the lesson The Tree Fairies. You will also learn few vocabulary, a small part of grammar. Then we'll summarize all what we have done today. And I will definitely ask you questions. And finally, your homework, what is to be done. By the end of the session, you all should be able to know how to frame sentences. You all should be able to read the lesson with intonation. Before we start today's session, let's quickly do a recap of what we learned in the previous session. In the previous session, we saw how the tree fairies helped the farmer burn the bushes, cut the tree trunk and pile them neatly. We also saw how they dug the field for him, sowed the seeds, one part of the field with yam and the other part of the field with corn. They even scared the birds for him and he didn't have to do any work. He was becoming lazy, but he knew how to talk to the tree fairies and get his work done. And we also saw how to make meaningful sentences. We also did learn a few antonyms and we also learned how to rewrite sentences using TOO2 and TO2. So let's get started with today's class then. Take out your textbooks and turn to page number 6. One day, the farmer went to his farm. He was very happy to find that his crops were better than his neighbor's crops. But they were still too young to be of any use. He went home happily, expecting to have a good supper. But his wife said, "I could not cook supper as there is no firewood in the house." "There must be plenty of firewood from your cleared farmland. Why don't you tell me where the farm is?" Now the farmer had become lazy because the tree fairies were doing all his work. He did not want to walk all the way back to the farm to collect firewood. So he told his wife where the farm was. "You must go quickly," he said, "and bring back enough wood to cook the supper. But one thing you must promise me. Do not say a word when you are there. Do not answer any questions." The woman was surprised, but she promised not to speak. Then she hurried away. When she reached the farm, she was surprised to see the wonderful crops. "These maize will soon be ready to eat," she said, breaking one of them and looking at it. Immediately she heard a voice. "Who is that breaking our corn?" She forgot her promise to her husband and said angrily, "It is not your corn, whoever you are. It belongs to my husband." Then she went near the yams. Loosening the soil with her hands, she began to look at one of the yams. "Who's that uncovering our yams?" said the voice. "These are not your yams," she said. "These belong to my husband. I shall uncover as many yams as I wish." Then she heard a voice saying, "Since the farmer's wife wants to break the maize and uncover the yams, shall we all help her?" "Yes, yes, yes," came the answer. Soon all the yams were pulled up and all the maize plants were broken. Though the woman could not see anyone, she was terrified to see all the crops destroyed. Weeping, she ran back to the village. Her husband saw her and realized that something bad had happened. Did you speak? He asked her, but she was unable to speak. The farmer ran to his field. What a sight met his eyes! His crops lay scattered all over the field. Help me, he called to the tree fairies, but there was no answer. Sadly, he returned to the village. I shall never trust tree fairies again, he said, and I shall never break my promise again, said his wife. Then they went to bed without supper. Children, I have read the lesson for you all. I want you all to read the lesson with intonation and also mark all the new words that you find in the reader itself with a pencil. Not only that, I want you all to frame sentences for these three words, which is lazy, promise, surprise. I repeat, lazy, promise, surprise. Write it in your rough book and send it to me. Now let me explain the lesson for you all. Now in the last class, we saw how the clever farmer spoke very cleverly to the tree fairies and got all his work done, including sowing the seeds. Now it was time for him to go check how much his crops have grown. So one day he goes to the farm, and when he goes there, he's very happy to see that his farm is grown better than his neighbor's farm. And so very happily he comes home thinking that his wife would have cooked nice dinner for him. But unfortunately, his wonderful wife did not cook anything for him. She told him that there was no firewood, and she also told him in the farm there must be lot of wood, right, when you cleared the farm. So you tell me where the farm is, I will go get it myself. The farmer was very lazy now because he had to walk back all the way. He didn't want to do that. So immediately he told his wife where the farm was, and he told her, go and get as much as wood you want, but promise me one thing. When you go there, don't talk to anyone and don't answer anything. Now, this lady was in a hurry to go see where the farm was. She said okay, and she went to the farm. But when she went there, she saw the farm was beautifully grown. One side corn and the other side yam. She went, she touched the corn, she just plucked one of the corn and she saw and she said, oh, little more to grow. When she plucked, she immediately heard a voice saying, who's that plucking our maize? Maize means the corn had grown. So then she was shocked. She didn't find anyone. So immediately she answered very rudely, it is not your farm, it's my husband's farm. Then she saw the yam, she loosened the soil and took out the yam and said, oh, it's all fine, another few more days we will be able to eat it. Again, when she was loosening the soil to check uh, the yam, the voice was heard again. So again she told the same thing, this is not your farm, it's my husband's farm. Then suddenly there was another voice which said, now we think the farmer's wife wants to loosen the yam and she wants to break the maize. We'll all help her. Immediately there were several other voices which said yes, yes. And no sooner she could react, the whole farm was destroyed. This lady was surprised seeing she couldn't see anyone. She was shocked. She started weeping and running back to the village. Now the farmer saw her running and coming, and immediately he asked her, did you talk anything? She couldn't answer because she was in tears and she was so surprised. Out of that shock, words never came out. So immediately the farmer ran to the field. When he went there, what a sad thing that he saw. The whole farm was destroyed. He cried, help me, but the fairies wouldn't answer. Very sadly, he came back home and he said, next time I should not believe the tree fairies. I should learn to do my own things. And the farmer's wife also realized that she should not break any promise. But what happened to both of them? No supper. She didn't cook supper, and the farmer also was very upset. So they both had to go to bed without food. Hope the lesson was interesting, children. What you all learn from this lesson? There are two things that you can learn. Yes, I think you all have guessed it. One, should not be lazy. You should learn to do your own things. Even you all children, now you all are in 5th standard. Don't trouble your parents. Asking your parents, find where the shirt is for me, or this frock is for me, or do this for me, do that. Little work I think you all can do. Girls and the boys can help your mothers in washing up your small things, your plate, or even cleaning the house. Okay, and the other thing is, never break your promise. If you have promised someone that you will do something, do it. Or if you have promised your friends that you will not tell the secret to the other friend, don't tell it, because it's a promise. Okay. Now let's look at some past tense. It's all what you all know, children. It's just a recap. Find, found. Speak, spoke. Eat, ate. Forget, forgot. Run, ran. Here are some antonyms from the lesson. I did tell you all antonyms means opposite. Young, elderly or old. Plenty, few, little. Angrily, calmly, softly. Break, rebuild, restore. Terrified, fearless, unafraid. Scattered, assemble. Promise, denial, disagreement. Let's look at grammar. What are we learning today? We are learning contraction. Confused? What is contraction? Don't worry. Contraction means short forms. Look at the definition here. A contraction is a short way of saying something. In a contraction, two words are joined. An apostrophe goes in place of the missing letters. For example, cannot, we can shorten it and write can't. They are, shorten it and write they are. He is, shorten and write he's. Is not, shorten it and write isn't. Now let's look at more of these. Am, I am. Okay, it becomes I'm. Was and not, wasn't. Were and not, weren't. Do and not, don't. Does and not, doesn't. Did and not, didn't. Is and not, isn't. He and is, he's. It and is, its. Who and is, whose. That and is, that's. What is becomes what's. So there are lots more I have put up. Please go through that. So contraction means short way of writing words. Understood, children? There ends the first chapter, The Tree Fairies, children. Now let's quickly summarize what we have learned today. We saw how the farmer went to the field and saw that his crops were grown. He was happy. He comes back home, but the wife didn't cook anything because he becomes lazy. The wife asks him where the farm is, and because he was lazy, he tells her. She goes there and everything goes upside down. She talks rudely to the tree fairies, and the tree fairies destroy the whole crops. She comes back running, and the farmer knew that she would have done something wrong, so he goes there, but he's crying, asking for help. The tree fairies don't turn up. Finally, he realized that he should do his own work and not depend on anything. And the farmer's wife also realized that she should not break anyone's promise, and they both go to sleep without food because the wife didn't cook anything because there was no firewood. Now we also learned few past tense, and we also learned antonyms, opposites. and we learned what are contractions. Contractions are nothing but putting words in a shorter form. So, hope you all understood the lesson very clearly, children. Coming to your homework, children. Now, on page 10, that is the Tree Fairies lesson, the fifth main, write the shortened forms. Okay, that's contraction. I thought you all do it in the reader only. In the next session, children, as I told you all will have class test. Okay, prepare yourself well, and questions will be asked from the reader, classwork, and all the PPTs that I have sent. So I request you all, go through your readers, read the lesson again and again, go through all the grammar points what I have taught you all. Any questions, children? If you have, please call me or message me. Now let me ask you a few questions. Let me see who will quickly answer this via WhatsApp. Where did the farmer find his piece of land? Once again, where did the farmer find his piece of land? Why did he not tell his wife where the farm was? Why did he not tell his wife where the farm was? Okay, and then what lesson did the farmer learn? What lesson did the farmer learn? And also, let me check. Last time I taught you all few antonyms. Okay, what is the opposite of neatly? Respect. And I also want to know what are homophones. Let's see who will be the first one to message me. Children, here ends the first chapter. Hope to see you all soon. Until then, it's bye from Mamana.